You're listening to the Telltale channel. Don't forget to check me out on all social media: Patreon, Twitter, Teespring, and Etsy. All links can be found in the description or on my website, telltaleatheist.com. The first article I wanted to take a look at is called "MAGA Cultist Who Downplayed COVID-19 Dies of COVID-19." Now, this is on Hemant Mehta's blog. This is by Hemant Mehta, thefriendlyatheist.com. It was written on April 5th, so let's give it a read and see what it has to say. About 2 weeks ago, Karen Kolb-Selk posted a rant on Facebook claiming the COVID-19 pandemic was media-driven, quote-unquote, and controlled by the radical people in powerful places. She said abortion was far more serious a problem. She declared the government response the beginning of socialism. Oh my God. And she acted like the stock market's crash was part of that plan. Here is a quote from her. I said this in the last podcast. I'm not going to censor myself. YouTube may actually take the video down mid-sentence. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, I'm uploading this to the podcast networks also, so I'm not censoring myself. I'm just saying what I want to say. I try not to live under a rock. However, I also try my best to pay attention to my surroundings. Our government is under attack from within. If you don't believe so, then you probably also believe that this is the first time the coronavirus has been identified. There are like 6 or 10 or something different coronaviruses, actually. So no, this isn't the first time it's been identified, or a coronavirus has been identified. This is the first time SARS-CoV-2 has been identified, the novel coronavirus. Think about what's transpired over the last few months. The government has presented every possible demographic, including a self-proclaimed socialist, as a Democratic candidate because they fear something they can't control. Okay. First of all, if the U.S. was the only one dealing with this situation, then she might have a little bit more of a case, but this is a world situation right now that the world is dealing with. This is not a localized issue. And even if it were, everything she's saying here is a little ridiculous. Let's keep reading. The impeachment hoax, again, that's Trump's wording right there. The impeachment hoax failed, and immediately Pelosi vowed to exhaust efforts in overthrowing Trump. If you currently can see this post, then until last week you were living in the most thriving economy this nation has ever seen in my lifetime. Only due to the fact that the person in control couldn't be bought. Oh, really? Trump couldn't be bought, you think? If you believe that, you're a sucker in the truest sense. If you think for 1 second this pandemic, quote-unquote, is not media-driven and controlled by the radical people in powerful places, well, go back to sleep under the rock you crawled out from. Okay, she posted all of this on March 14th. I'm not really sure how far along in the whole thing we were at that point exactly. I don't remember if Trump was calling it a hoax at that moment or not. I think he was. I don't think he actually recognized it as a legitimate issue until later in March. Let me continue reading what she said here. This thing has killed less people in the same time frame than cigarettes, cancer, drunk driving, domestic violence, car crashes, cross-stitching accidents, joking on the last one, but probably close, stabbings, overdoses, and please don't get me started on abortion. Yeah, that may be the case, or may have been the case at that time. The scary thing about it is the fact that, for one thing, it spreads through the air. It's not airborne exactly, but when people talk or breathe or cough or sneeze, it gets out into the air attached to vapor particles, basically, vapor particles. And it sits in that space for hours. Anything that you touch can transmit the virus that way. And not only that, but they think that half the people who are infected are asymptomatic, which means when you get sick, it is too late. When you get sick, it means you've probably been transmitting it for about a week, maybe more already. You don't even have to be sick. You don't even have to show signs that you're sick to be transmitting it. That is one of the scariest things about it. Now, the mortality rate isn't extremely high. It's very, very high, but there are diseases with higher mortality rates. The problem is that it's so transmissible that even having a low mortality rate, it completely overwhelmed our healthcare system. Not just the US either. Italy, China, all kinds of places. Their healthcare systems have been overwhelmed because of the massive number of people catching this. And that means the mortality rate goes up. Not because of the disease or because we can't treat it, but because our hospitals are full. There are people sitting in the hallways of hospitals. They can't be treated. We don't have the equipment. We don't have the masks we need to treat people. That's the scary part about this whole thing. Let me continue reading. Wake up. This is what the beginning of socialism looks like. I don't know why people keep freaking out about socialism. For one thing, Bernie Sanders is not a socialist by the definition of the term. Bernie Sanders doesn't believe in the government controlling the means of production and supply. Now, he's a social democrat, which means he believes in some social programs like, for example, Social Security or single-payer health care. But he's not a socialist. He doesn't believe the government should control the means of production and supply. I think what she's probably talking about is communism more than socialism, though. When people like this are talking about extreme regimes like that, they're not talking about socialist regimes. They're talking about communist regimes. There is a difference between the two. Let's continue reading. Wake up. This is what the beginning of socialism looks like. They're controlling what you buy because it's what you think you need, where you go, because it's where they tell you not to go and how to live, because you now fear the very existence of anything outside of your home and control. They are leading with fear, causing you to panic like sheep. Oh my God. They're crashing the stock market to run on a failing economy because it's all they have left. What is this saying to all of the countries that have opposed us for decades but couldn't defeat us? It's saying biological warfare will make these idiots glued to CNN and every other liberal news source panic and run for the hills. You don't need hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and Lysol. You need common sense, a sense of direction, faith, a will to fight, and of course guns. Oh my God, that is extremely scary what this person is saying. Now wash your hands and live the life they don't want you to have. America, Trump 2020. That's disturbing. The mindset behind this person is extremely disturbing. This is a quote from what this person just said. You don't need hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and Lysol. You need common sense, a sense of direction, faith, a will to fight, and of course, guns. Back to the article. This was the response to it, basically. Selk died this week, apparently of COVID-19. I'm very sorry to hear that. I don't want to see anybody die from this or anything else. As few deaths as possible, ideally. Even for the nutcases. I don't want anyone to die. A GoFundMe page on her behalf explained how she tested positive for the virus and it caused her to go into kidney failure and septic shock. But perhaps after her hypocrisy came to light, the page was revised to remove those references before being disabled altogether, maybe to avoid comments. The screenshots live on. So these are the screenshots from the GoFundMe page. March 14th, posted COVID-19 hoax, anti-socialism rant on Facebook. April 2nd, died of COVID-19, family asking for GoFundMe donations. I post this not to mock Karen Kolb-Shelk's death, but to underscore the tragic risk one takes when taking this pandemic for granted. I cannot possibly agree more with that. We have to take this seriously. And acting like a nutcase and downplaying the severity or danger is not good. It's not the smart choice. And no, the COVID-19 case of Karen Kolb-Shelk isn't itself a hoax. The following link is to her original Facebook post, and you can read the news of her death in the comments with proof. For skeptics who asked for further proof this isn't a hoax, I get it. It's just too on the nose that a Trump supporter named Karen died of the liberal hoax she dismissed in a Facebook post days earlier. It speaks volumes that it's so unbelievable, yet real. Once again, I'm very sorry for Karen Shelk. I'm sorry that she died of this. I'm sorry that anybody is dying from this. It's really, really heartbreaking, and I hope that her family can find some peace from this, and I hope people can learn from it. I hope that her family and the people who see this story learn from this and understand that this is to be taken seriously. This is not a joke, you know? Back to the article. As that Twitter user rightly says, the point isn't to mock someone's death, it's to emphasize how serious this pandemic is. The people trying to defend Trump's irresponsibility by downplaying the virus aren't just hurting themselves, they could hurt all of us. Stop listening to them and stop voting for Republicans. It's a matter of public health at this point. Could not agree with that more. It's very disturbing.